Tantor Audio, a division of Recorded Books, presents The Gentle Tamers, Women of the Old Wild West, by Dee Brown, narrated by Pam Ward. Chapter 1. The Sunbonnet Myth. Who was the Western woman? What was she like, this gentle yet persistent tamer of the wild land that was the American West? Emerson Hough saw her as a woman in a sunbonnet, and saluted her with eloquence. The chief figure of the American West, the figure of the ages, is not the long-haired, fringed-legging man riding a raw-boned pony, but the gaunt and sad-faced woman sitting on the front seat of the wagon, following her lord where he might lead, her face hidden in the same ragged sunbonnet which had crossed the Appalachians and the Missouri long before. That was America, my brethren. There was the seed of America's wealth. There was the great romance of all America, the woman in the sunbonnet, and not, after all, the hero with the rifle across his saddle-horn. Who has written her story? Who has painted her picture? Other evidence supports this stereotype of the woman in the sunbonnet. In a letter written from Kansas in 1857, Julia Lovejoy described such a traveler riding on the high seat of an ox-drawn wagon, with household goods packed all around and above her head, a basket of potatoes to rest her feet upon, in her arms a child not quite 2 years old, in one hand an umbrella to screen her throbbing head from the oppressive heat of the sun, and in the other a bundle of sundries that could find no place secure from falling overboard from the rocking to and fro of the ponderous vehicle. And a Californian, describing the appearance of women at the end of a plains journey, said, "The poor women arrive looking as haggard as so many Endorian witches, burnt to the color of hazelnut, with their hair cut short, and its gloss entirely destroyed by the alkali, whole plains of which they are compelled to cross on the way." But the Western woman was more by far than a face hidden in a ragged sunbonnet. Often her bonnet was gay with color and ornamented with flowers. Sometimes she wore French millinery, the latest styles from Paris, small round hats contrasting with the enormity of her voluminous built-out skirts. Her petticoats were rainbow-colored. Her feet might be shod in rough work clods, but more than likely they were in high boots of finest kid, or high-buttoned shoes. Whatever her dress, she had endurance, she had courage. Sometimes she was wilder than the land she tamed. Why did she venture there into that vast and violent world of plains, mountain, and sky, where danger and death waited, mocking her womanhood, crouching always outside the rings of her campfires, even at her hearthside? Who was she? What was her name? It might be Josephine Meeker, 20-year-old Oberlin College graduate, who wanted to educate the Colorado Indians but was captured by a Ute who taught her the facts of life and then fell in love with her. Or Frances Grummond, the sheltered Tennessee girl who married a Yankee soldier and learned to cook for him in the wilds of Wyoming. Her heart was broken when he died in the Fetterman massacre. Or Margaret Irvin Carrington, who tried to soothe the grief of Frances Grummond, never dreaming that within a short time this young Southern girl would be married to her own husband. And 13-year-old Virginia Reed, her young mother Margaret Reed and grandmother Keyes, all of Springfield, Illinois, who started to California one fine spring morning with 29 others, including 2 brothers named Donner. Esther Morris, a dignified lady of 55, whose famous Tea Party in South Pass City, Wyoming, set in motion the machinery that brought women the right to vote for the first time anywhere on earth. Julia Bulette of Virginia City, the prototype of all the fancy women in Western literature, who wore sable muffs and silk scarves, and would have blushed if any man ever caught her wearing a ragged sunbonnet. Elizabeth Farnham, who sometimes wore bloomers. She tried to organize a party of New York women to journey to the California gold fields for the good of the female.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?